It's time to break down what went right and what went wrong during this week's game. Severe Reaction is on the air with your host, Michael Severe, and the most important voice of all, yours. Severe Reaction starts now. Powered by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Only on 1620 The Zone.
Snap. Counter handoff. Angling left, Johnson, first down and more, slides down with a W to the 49 of Northwestern. 6th win of the year on the horizon. Nebraska digging deep here in the fourth. Emmett Johnson, fittingly enough, sealing the day as Raiola puts a knee down to the turf. Final seconds tick away, and both teams spill out onto the field. Nebraska with the response. Final score here from Memorial Stadium. Nebraska 28, Northwestern 21.
I'd like to start by first giving a ton of credit to Northwestern. I think in our league, we don't talk enough about teams like them, teams like us that are just the way football's supposed to be played. I have the utmost respect for them. Blue collar, tough. 17's a great player. The backs are excellent. Really good defense. And I have a lot of respect for them. So it was a fight that we knew would be a battle to the very end. And proud of our guys. I thought they showed tremendous resolve. Not many chances in life to have a second chance at something. It was 7-6 at the half. I think you guys heard me say last week I wasn't real happy with the way we were acting about it being 7-6. We got back to just being ourselves this week.
Happy Sunday morning. Welcome to Severe Reaction on 1620 The Zone. 402-951-1620 is the number. Of course, you can reach us a number of ways. You can always hit me up on Twitter. You can also, of course, you can get into the stream and watch on YouTube and comment on there as well. You can always, of course, call the show. We have a new saying. By the way, I'm Michael Severe. Joey is the producer.
I'm here.
Joey is an Omaha native. All right.
Yes,
So he should know this. Joey, what is the saying about corn here in Nebraska? You know the saying about corn?
I'm stupid if I don't.
Okay, so the saying about corn is knee high by the 4th of July. All right? So that's the height of it. The new saying in Nebraska, though, is bowl qualified before Halloween. That's the new one.
I like that.
Bowl qualified before Halloween. Doesn't quite rhyme. I guess you could go with like Nebraska bowl eligible is seen by Halloween. Something like that.
Yeah.
It's the new saying. Nebraska, with their 6th win, moves to 6-2, 28-21 over Northwestern. This stat will not surprise you if you've been watching Nebraska football for a while. Nebraska is now 11-7 versus Northwestern all time. It is the 10th time that in the past 14 meetings that Nebraska and Northwestern had a game decided by 8 or fewer points. I mean, come on.
It's crazy.
Going in, right? They put that number at like 7.5. You're like,
It's all expected. There was only one game that ended in a blowout, and that was, I think, 2021.
Yes.
But all the other games just have been close around probably a possession or two.
And you can say that was a really bad Northwestern team that Nebraska blew out. But remember, Nebraska lost in Ireland to a team that won one game.
Mm-hmm.
So they played bad Northwestern teams in the past, and it didn't obviously get out of control.
No.
But, it was what it was yesterday. It's what you expected. As I mentioned, Nebraska bowl eligible at a 6-2 start. It is the best, as you know, start through 8 games since going back, of course, to 2016. The infamous year where Mike Riley gets off to the great start, goes to Wisconsin, loses an overtime game, and then, of course, takes a beating from Ohio State the next week. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a win. We're talking about excitement. We are talking about a game that I'm not sure, Joey. We've had a game this even on the stat column. And it's funny because John Bishop, who I do the pregame show with, 1620 The Zone, pregame, also I believe it's now called Bish and the Brownie, is the new nickname for the show. But anyway,
I like that name.
It's a good name. And so he has this chart which shows all the comparisons, the EPA stuff and all those analytics that drive people crazy. And on there, it was a lot of green for both teams saying that you are really good at this or you're really bad at this with the red. 18 first downs to 18 first downs.
Wow.
Hard to get more even than that. Total rushing yards, if you just go without the lost yardage, no sack, whatever else, 173 for Northwestern, 178 for Nebraska.
Wow.
Pretty damn even.
Yep.
30-yard difference basically in total offense, 5.6 yards versus 4.9 yards a play. It was an incredibly even game. The difference in the game, which has become the standard now for, let's call it the new Nebraska, the standard now is excellent special teams play. That is your difference. Obviously, the 2 interceptions helped Nebraska, but you counter that with Nebraska having the 1 interception and the fumble that ended the drive, which wasn't as big of a deal at the end of the half. But it comes down to, again, a return to the 35-yard line in the initial drive for Nebraska. Obviously, the kickoff return touchdown.
Yep.
The first having to go all the way back to our good friend J.D. Spielman in 2017. It's just about something that we have talked about for maybe a decade now. The last real year I can remember Nebraska being really good at special teams, I guess you can go to the Bob Diaco year of 2017 because that year the punt game was great. But listen to this.
If you want to talk about return game, I would say 2014.
Well, the last time was 2014 by far.
Yeah.
2014. So for I know this, the finalist for the Jet Award, right? That's the only time Nebraska's ever had a finalist for the Jet Award that year in 2014. So that obviously, but look at these numbers. So we know what Nebraska's done punt return so far.
Mm-hmm.
Punt coverage. There are only 2 teams in the Big Ten that you can honestly say have dominated in punt coverage. And Nebraska is one of them. So far, they've allowed 2 punt returns for 1 yard.
That's just crazy. Considering how tough the special teams looked through the past decade.
Yes.
How non-existent their coverage was. And just crazy in general.
So I don't know what Oregon's final punt numbers were yesterday, but going into the game, Oregon had given up -1 yards in punt returns. So that was the only one better. Nebraska, punt returns, 19 so far. 20 so far for 288. Yeah. They had given up last year. I mentioned they gave up 1 yard. They gave up 19 for 234. They gave up 19 punt returns for 234 yards. This year, 2 returns for 1 yard, which is amazing. In 2024, Nebraska had 15 returns for 73 yards. In 2023, they had 16 returns for 48 yards. In 2022, five returns total for 77 yards. And then the bottom of the barrel, it can't get any worse than this. In 2021, 10 returns for 27 yards. Currently, Nebraska has 20 returns for 288 yards. You combine all those other years, and Nebraska has more yards. You combine all those years, 4 years into 1 year. The MVP of this team, there's a lot of choices, but for many people, I believe it'd be Mike Eckler.
Yeah.
Because you cannot ask for more. I mean, they had a missed field goal yesterday.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. It's windy in that stadium. He just pushed it. He came in 11 of 12. Like, he missed one. It's going to happen. You're not going to be perfect.
You're not going to make everything, but we're seeing a more aggressive approach into the special teams play. Everybody's returning the ball. They're not calling for fair catch.
Yep. Then they gave up 1 return. So the kickoff return they gave up at the end of the game, basically on the last drive, was taken out to the 26-yard line. That was one of the longer kickoffs they've given up all year. And it's only to the 26-yard line. And it allowed Northwestern to have decent field, but it's been nothing great. But overall, from top to bottom, Nebraska is number 1 in points accumulated through special teams. They're number 1. Not the Big Ten, the country. They're number 4, and this will probably go up after this week, number 4 in special team efficiency. So that takes everything into account. It takes punt return, punt coverage, kickoff, field goal, kickoff return, everything. Number 4 in the country, and they may go up after all the numbers are counted up coming off of this weekend. Again, give props to Mike Eckler for what he did, because it's not that complicated. It's not like they got new players. Most of the guys who are contributing in special teams are the same guys who were here before. Ja'Cory Barney obviously was here last year. New punter, of course. Kenneth Williams was on the team last year. Mosey, who's back there to help out, he was on the team. This is his first year there. But, I mean, you look at the team, these guys have been around. It's not like it's some crazy change of personnel. It's simply about dedicating yourself to making something great. And, you go back about 8 years, and Mike Eckler had been a linebacker coach at a bunch of different places. And he said to himself, you know what? I could be a good linebacker coach at a number of schools. I can be a great special teams coordinator, one of the best in the country. Let me focus on that. He started focusing on that, and where is he now? He is obviously going to be a very high-paid special teams coordinator, because whatever he's making now, he's probably going to get a raise. I would hope so.
I would say.
I would hope he gets a raise, because it's remarkable what he's done. We're going to get into more, of course, the good and some of the bad from the game. We'll look back at the game keys. We'll hear from Sip. Last week, he slept through the show. This week, we'll call him, and he's going to be on. He's already awake, I know, because he retweeted my the tweet I had out there about him. So he's already awake. So that's good stuff. We'll go over that as well, some of the numbers. And then, of course, into the show, we'll look ahead to next Saturday night, the blackout in Memorial Stadium versus the Southern Cal Trojans at 6:30 on NBC. We'll preview that as well. But 402-951-1620. Let's go to the phones. Of course, the show is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. And by Nebraska Medicine. Join our team at nebraskamed.com/careers. Kurt, good morning. How are you doing, sir?
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
I'm calling about Mike Eckler and special teams, and how can we get him nominated for the Broyles Award?
Oh, you know what's funny?
Guy,
He'll be. I think personally, he's going to be one of the semifinalists. Although a lot of times it's coordinators just for offense and defense. But I agree with you. He certainly should be on the list.
Well, special teams, much like offense and defense, you can call different plays for all the faces of special teams. That guy has got this down to a science. Just the stats that you read earlier, no matter how bad Nebraska's special teams were in the dumpster in years past, that is phenomenal. I've coached special teams at the high school level.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy, and it's pretty intricate. But what Eckler has done at Nebraska or anywhere else he's been with special teams, it's just mind-blowing if you know the ins and outs of special teams. And getting him up for the Broyles Award would be awesome, especially if he could win it. But whatever we have to do at Nebraska to keep him on staff, do it. Because just what he's done with special teams, and then if you know his personality, how infectious his enthusiasm is about the game, even back when he was linebackers coach when Pelini was here, that carries over to everybody else on the sideline.
Yep. No, I completely agree with you, Kurt. I appreciate the call. The toughest part about special teams is, and guys who've coached this and if you played on it, there are a number of people that aren't exactly excited about being on special teams sometimes. It means at times you're not a starter on offense or defense. On the other hand, when you have a guy like Mike Eckler that puts the value he does into it, I think for a lot of those guys on special teams, they feel special. It's not just going out there and running down on kickoff or seeing who the fastest guy is going down on kickoff or being lined up on a field goal coverage or whatever else. It's not like that. They're excited to be on it. Now, as a member of the Football Writers Association, I am one of the voters for the Broyles Awards, but we don't pick the guys we vote on. They have a selection committee for that. The selection committee puts together the list, and then they send it out to the football writer folks, and then they vote on it. So I'll be looking forward to that. I certainly hope to see him on there. Looking at the list of committee members, So Chris Doring understands the value of special teams. He did some punt returning at Florida. You've got some media guys on here as well. You got some former coaches, Urban Meyer, who certainly appreciates special teams. Ryan McGee is on here. Kurt Herbstreit's on here. David Pollock. There's a lot of guys on the selection committee that I'm sure understand the importance of special teams. And hopefully he gets to be one of those guys that's nominated to be on that semifinal list that we get to vote on because he's been remarkable. He's been remarkable. There were a lot of guys that had huge games yesterday. But as a team, the thing I thought was most important was, and many times it's the fourth quarter, but specifically third down in the fourth quarter. If you looked at the numbers coming out of the third quarter, in terms of what Nebraska was doing on third down and what they had given up on third down, you look at that and you'd say, oh, man, this is why the game is, 21 up. So in the third quarter, through the third quarter, Nebraska was sitting at, on third down, 2 of 7. And Northwestern had 6 of 11. Anytime you're over 50% on third down, you're excelling. At 55%, that's top of the country. And Nebraska sitting at 2 and 7, not very exciting. Not very exciting of that. In the fourth quarter, though, Nebraska turned it around. And by the end of the game, it was 7 of 14, still 50% for Northwestern. That's not great defensively. But Nebraska had moved to 6 of 12. They converted 4 third downs on that final drive. 3 of them, 3rd and 7, for a weird reason. And then the final one, 3rd and 5, inside the 10-yard line, converting on that before the touchdown by Emmett Johnson. That was the drive of the game. Last week on Friday night, obviously the drive of the game was Minnesota's 98-yard drive. The drive of the game was Nebraska's drive to go up and put the game away, 69 yards, converting 4 times on third down, turning around what the feel was about third down. And then, by the way, in fourth quarter, Northwestern 1 of 4 on third down. So they're sitting there at 55%. Coming out of the third quarter, 1 of 4 on third down for Northwestern. That changed it. That is the key. And the other key is something we talked about in the pregame show. Nebraska was 105th in the country in red zone touchdown rate. 105th in the country. You know all the concerns about Nebraska not being able to finish in the low red zone. 3 of 3 yesterday. That's turning it around. Doing what you have to do, running the ball, and also, a great back shoulder throw and catch and getting the foot down, the toe drag swag by Isaiah Hunter, incredible. But running the ball in the red zone and then making a throw for a touchdown in the red zone, that's your key to the game. Absolute key to the game. If you want to be a part of the show, 402-951-1620. Reminder, we'll have Steve Sipple after 9 o'clock. When we come back, we're going to go over some more of the good, some of the players that really redeemed themselves yesterday, that had either tough games against Minnesota or were not seen against Minnesota, were definitely seen yesterday in Memorial Stadium versus Northwestern. We will go over that, a little bit of bad as well. Show is brought to you by Equitable Bank, where we take banking personally, and by Nebraska Medicine. Join our team at nebraskamed.com/careers. We'll have more of severe reaction here on 1620 The Zone when we come back.
Now, back to Severe Reaction, powered by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Here's your host, Michael Severe, on 1620 The Zone.
Big first drive, 5 totes for 29 yards for EJ in the opening drive, and a scoreless first. 8 minutes remain. First and goal from the 9. One wide either side of the line. Raiola under center. Takes a snap. Counter handoff left. Here's Johnson. Slants to the outside 10. Foot race 5. EJ's in. Touchdown Huskers. Fitting way to cap the opening drive. The Huskers lead 6-0 over Northwestern. This is what the Big Ten's all about, right, DB? Getting tough yardage.
Yeah, I talked with Benny Mack in the pre-show show. Running it when you have to.
Harburg from under center, 3 backs. Hand off to the first man through Johnson. He was stonewalled, extra effort. I think he got it on the second effort. He was stopped dead to rights at the line of scrimmage, and then, like we've seen all day long, EJ kept churning those legs.
What can he do? I mean, he can do it all. He can do all 3 phases. Like, literally, I mean, he's running off the field. He's like, hey, coach, no mas, which, that's first down, get down. I mean, he knew the situation before I did. Ran with 5 points of ball security. On the first one, gets 6 yards. Credit to our O-line and tight ends. I mean, they're blocking, receivers are blocking, and then gets the second one in, So, Emmett can do it all. The times he got stopped there, he slipped. And that's a rugged defense right there.
Welcome back. Severe Reaction here on 1620 The Zone, 402-951-1620. As I mentioned, you can comment, of course, on the YouTube stream. Now, I will say that we're not going to permit any blasphemy about Rob Dvorak. I see people on there saying that maybe Eckler should be the linebacker coach as well. I don't know what you guys are thinking about. Rob Dvorak is, if he's not the second best assistant coach, I mean, obviously Eckler now. Let's take the coordinators out of it and just go position coaches. Rob Dvorak is at the top. I don't know what you guys are thinking about or what you're watching. So what are we talking about? Let's talk about development as a coach, right? Working in the system that you're given and taking the players you're given and making them better. Rob Dvorak does well at all of those things. The highest scores every week, basically on the defense, many times, are the linebackers. You got Vincent Shavers out there with one hand making big plays. Javin Wright's maybe been one of the best players on defense all year. What are you thinking about? You got a 7th-year guy out there who hadn't played much, who's being put in great situations, didn't start yesterday, but at the end of the game, he was out there, had the blitz call. I mean, what are you doing? Rob Dvorak? There's a lot of people to get mad at. Let's talk defensive line. If you want to ask questions about assistant coaches and who's not maybe living up to what we thought they would be. I mean, come on. The lack of pressure. Now, yesterday, Riley Van Poppel, other than not picking up a fumble and having an offsides, had probably one of the best games of his career. Like, I'm not talking grades, just watching him play. Getting in the backfield, looking explosive, making tackles. Now, his development has not been great this year. Actually kind of went backwards. Nweri obviously has done many good things, but other than that, where's the D-line? Where's the havoc? That's a position you want to question. I know people question the offensive line, obviously, but linebackers, no, not even close. Rob Dvorak is a great. They want to keep him. There's no talk about putting somebody else in his spot. They want to keep him. I think eventually, and it could happen here at Nebraska, he's going to be a defensive coordinator someplace because he's still fairly young. And I don't know what happens with John Butler. I know John Butler for a long time wanted to be a defensive coordinator in the NFL. So I don't know if he's working towards trying to get back there or not. But Rob Dvorak is going to be a defensive coordinator. It might be here. Most likely it'll be someplace else. But that's not the guy to be questioning out of the assistant coaches. There are other guys whose entire preparation at times has been poor. Oh, again, good stuff. I mentioned Van Poppel and what he did. One of the better games he's had. I don't know how he graded out, but I know overall just with my eyes, watching it at the game, and then, of course, rewatching it last night. Let's see, what he ended up doing. He ended up having he had a really good tackling grade, which I thought. His pass rush grade was pretty good. Coverage grade, I'm not sure why you worry about Riley Van Poppel in coverage. Run defense was okay. Your highest graded defensive lineman yesterday was Cameron Linhart, who probably had his best game since his freshman year when looking at them overall. But I thought Riley Van Poppel bounced back. A guy who needed a bounce back was Donovan Jones, who struggled in a couple things last week on Friday night. Coverage, tackling, just didn't seem to have the best game. And it started off bad for Donovan last week and just kept getting worse. He definitely bounced back. And tackles he made, the way he looked in coverage for the most part, they obviously were targeting Andrew Marshall a lot, but everybody else did pretty well. But I thought that Donovan Jones had a great game. Guthrie, who a couple times early in the game ended up on number 17, Wildy for Northwestern, who came in the game. Wildy came in the game as the 9th best wide receiver in the Big Ten, both in yards and catches. They targeted him 8 times, which is not a surprise. He's the most targeted player on their team. 8 times yesterday. He only had 3 catches. Props to Andrew Marshall, who gave up the one sluggo and probably held on that last one. Probably. He held on the last one. But it kind of was, we'll go over some of the really bad calls by the officials a little bit later. But Andrew Marshall was out there battling. Guthrie ended up on him. Everybody ended up on him. He moves all over the place. He plays flanker. He plays in the slot. He plays the X. He plays everything, right? He's just that kind of wide receiver. And for the most part, it was his worst game he's had this year. 3 receptions. So great job. 3 receptions for 54 yards. Of course, the long one was 37 yards. But great job there. I mentioned the 3rd down conversions, the turnaround there, which was huge. I mentioned the red zone touchdown rate, another thing that goes down as good. And then the special teams. You can't talk enough about the difference this team has in emotion on special teams, on production on special teams, just overall play individually. You remember when they couldn't snap the ball on extra points? It got so bad, they couldn't even snap the ball well on extra points. Do you remember that? That wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, it wasn't long ago. It was from the last coaching era.
Yeah. So you couldn't snap the ball. The holder struggled getting the ball down, and the field goal kicker struggled. Now, do you even think about that battery? You don't even think about the snapper, holder, and for the most part, kicker. I know, again, I missed one yesterday.
Or even protection.
You don't worry about the protection. You're not worried about any of that. It's all solidified.
Yeah.
I just can't talk enough about how good the special teams. And when we come, I know people don't love this. Nebraska fans don't love this. They don't like being compared to Iowa. I understand it. But the biggest reason why Iowa has consistently overachieved, I guess you would say, based off what they do offensively, is, yes, defense, and their secondary has been great over the years, and Norm Parker does a great job and all that. But it's their special teams. When you're finishing top 5 in special teams, you're gaining 1-2 games every year you win. Again, yesterday, they dominated Minnesota. Part of it was Caden Weechen had another punt return touchdown. Continues to lead the nation in combined kick return yardage, kickoff and punt, and that's his 3rd touchdown in the year. That's what they do. That's what they have done. Now, Nebraska has equaled that. Now, obviously, they don't have the offensive line yet that Iowa has built. I think the defensive line right now, Iowa is ahead as well. But when you can play great special teams, you can force some turnovers and have a above average offense, like I think Nebraska can be when it's going. It puts them in that situation where, ahead. I believe, and I know a lot of people were tweeting me, texting me or whatever yesterday about the Iowa game. They're not a surprise to me. We talked all last week about how bad Minnesota was. This is not a shock. Whatever Nebraska did Friday night in Minneapolis is even more embarrassing now when you look at what Iowa did. What Iowa did is what we all thought Nebraska would do. Matter of fact, that game plan they had yesterday, where they ran the ball almost 40 times, that was the game plan we thought they'd have on Friday. But they did. Still, I'm still shaking my head. Because I know Minnesota's not good. I know their quarterback is average to below average. Not a mobile guy, so you have to worry about that. Doesn't throw the ball down the field well, similar to what Dylan Raiola is right now. Doesn't throw the ball down the field well, and is prone to trying to put balls in spots where you can't get them in there and ending up in interceptions. Still, Minnesota's not good. Not a shock that they got beat. I mean, that line opened up at like 7 and then climbed all the way to 9.5. Everybody was betting Iowa. They were betting Iowa like they had the Sunday paper in their hand. And they were right. They were right. A couple more things that go down the good list. Middle third. Been talking about middle third for a few years. I was glad to hear when Matt Rule came in and he started talking about the importance of middle third. You get the win on the coin flip, which allows you to defer to the second half, which then you get the ball back and you hopefully score before the end of the half, and then, of course, score at the beginning of the half. Now, Nebraska failed to get points at the end of the half, and maybe you're one of those people that say they should have kicked the field goal. The wind was really whipping around. So I don't know how much the wind had to do with the shank that Kunanen had. I'm not sure. But that's probably why they didn't kick the field goal. They decided to go for it on fourth down. I didn't love the play call. You've been running the ball at about a 5.5-yard clip at that point in the game. We saw earlier and then later bringing in Harburg to try to run some plays. Didn't love all of those. But whatever Nebraska tried to do, I think it was supposed to be an RPO. I'm not sure. You end up having Dylan running around trying to dive for it. He fumbles. They weren't going to make it anyway because they didn't reach the line. But anyway, they don't take the field goal, but they come out. They get the kickoff return, right? So that's the counter, the field goal that Northwestern had. So now you're up 7-3 in the middle 8. And I know this is a bit of an extension, but getting the pick and turning around and scoring again to then go up 21-6, that's kind of an extension of the middle 8 because you had the weird drive where Nebraska doesn't get anything but gets the ball right back because of the interception. Anyway, yeah, good thing right there for the way Nebraska's playing. Mosey and Nelson, not a ton of contribution, but you love to see them. Just giving Emmett a little breather. The man's a workhorse. He's busting his ass. Give him a little bit of breather. 4 touches for Mosey and Nelson, 34 yards on those 4 touches. Nebraska, and I don't know what the total number is for counted missed tackles because I have one more rewatch to watch. But they didn't have, I thought they had about 3 or 4 missed tackles. The problem was those missed tackles were critical because it led to at least 2, if not 3 of the explosive plays that Northwestern had. The worst of it, of course, is you've got an inside run on a 3rd and short, and Cam Linhart just loses containment. He's out there, and he decides as he's out there to say, okay, obviously it's taken care of. I'm just going to crash down on this offensive tackle. That was a mistake. When he crashes down, then that's when the back takes it outside and obviously runs for the touchdown. But that Cam's got to stay there. You got to know your responsibility. I did just show the highlight on Big Ten Network. You've got to stay there. You got to remember, backside, right, cut back. You have to worry about those things. And when you're out there and you're the only person, it's your responsibility. Because Vincent Shavers is inside. Cam Leonard's outside. He's got to stay out there. And he doesn't. He loses contain and there gives you a touchdown. But other than that, really good tackling. How many times did you see in this game balls thrown quickly to Northwestern wide receivers where the one-on-one tackling happened, where if you go back to, late Michigan State, you go back to late Michigan, some in against Maryland where those guys got away. Obviously saw it, a lot of leaky tackling the week before against Minnesota, but not yesterday. That was one of the strengths, one of the good things you can talk about. Moving to some of the things that were concerning. And we'll take a break before we do that. I want to get to deep balls, which is, I don't know what the deal is with that. Why is it so hard to complete passes down the field? Some of the weird short yardage plays that Nebraska ran. Did you feel that they were taking the athleticism away from Harburg in the way they ran some of that stuff? It didn't make a lot of sense to me. I thought they got a little cute a couple times on short yards. We'll go over some of that as well, and some of the other things that I thought weren't the best from the game. But again, Nebraska 6-2, coming off the win 28-21. If you want to get in part of the show, 402-951-1620 is the number. Again, a reminder, after 9 o'clock, we will chat with Stephen M. Sipple. Show is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally, and brought to you by Nebraska Medicine. Join our team at nebraskamed.com/careers. More severe reaction here on 1620 Zone.
Now, back to Severe Reaction, powered by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Here's your host, Michael Severe, on 1620 The Zone.
Raiola goes from under center. Harburg, the tight end, left. Two receivers tight right, tight end each side of the line. Snap, roll out right for Raiola, under pressure, steps up, tucks and runs, middle of the field, dives, he got stripped, ball's loose. Fred Davis has got it. Northwestern picks up the loose football. Raiola had the first down on the run, then had it stripped, picked up by Fred Davis at the 24-yard line. Northwestern football with 30 seconds to go. 1st and 10, Husker 35, left to right. Two receivers left. Barney in orbit motion, right to left. Raiola claims the snap off play action. Back in two, intercepted. Slings it over the middle. Mac Uline, his 4th interception, got tripped up at the 35 by Ja'Cory Barney. Mac Uline's 4th interception as a linebacker of the season was an RPO slant over the middle intended for Key, and he threw it right to Mac Uline. 1st and 10 Northwestern at the 35 of the Huskers.
The one right before the half. I mean, it's 4th down, 4th and 1. We call a play. You could see them yell. You know, they're so well coached. Like they alerted it. They were ready for the play. Dylan's just trying to reach the ball across on 4th down. That fumble doesn't really mean it much. You know, I mean, it was a tough decision. Should we have kicked it? You know, we're into the wind there. So we said, hey, let's get 4th and 1. We got to go for it. And but that one was not negligible. The interception in their territory, though, was a huge play. So I think anytime you hold them to no points off turnovers, you get a couple turnovers, and you have a kickoff return for a touchdown, you're probably going to win the game.
Welcome back to your reaction here on 1620 The Zone, 402-951-1620. You know something that has kind of been driving me crazy too, and I'd love somebody like Jay Foreman, or maybe I'll ask Jay Moore to do it on a Big Red wrap up. But how many times have we seen this year where a team, an opponent, has done a quarterback sneak that has gotten not just one, but 2 or 3 or 4 yards?
I was amazed to see that on like a 3rd and 2 from
It
Northwestern.
3rd and 2 quarterback sneak. It just keeps happening.
Yeah.
It's probably happened at least 5 times, maybe 6 or 7 times against this defense. And it's something about the alignment Nebraska's in, maybe not having anybody over the nose. I don't know. Maybe just because they're a smaller defensive line than they have been in the past. But too many times now, teams have just lined up. Because Preston Stone had 3 of them.
Yeah.
And one was on 3rd and 2.
Yeah. It was easy to spot. And when I saw the 3rd and 2 and saw the formation, I called it right away. He was going to just go right into that gap and get the first down.
And got it just so easily.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. That's something they've certainly got to fix. Let's go back to the phones. 402-951-1620. That's where Henry is this morning. Good morning, Henry.
Hey, Michael. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. How have you been traveling all over the world?
Yeah. I went to the Maryland game. That was probably the most exciting game I ever watched in person.
Well, that's saying something. You've been to a lot of Nebraska games. That's really saying something. That was one of the more exciting ones.
Yeah. Well, that actually gets to one of the things. I had a few things here real quick.
Yeah.
Obviously the narrative going into this year was that, Nebraska, when it has a chance to do a game-winning drive, it always chokes. And we saw it at Maryland, and it happened there again yesterday. Maryland, Dillon completed really 4 key passes in that drive, and there were 4 key third-down passes again yesterday. So, dare I say it, maybe we're a clutch team now. I don't know.
Yeah, 3-1 now in one-score games. 3-1.
Yeah, and doing it when it matters.
Yep.
I'm glad you're going to address that 4th down, because that was the other thing. I mean, I swear 4th and 1 is Nebraska's worst play, and they allegedly picked one up yesterday, but I'm not sure they actually did. But you're right, they get no line push, and then for whatever reason, the running back, whether it's Hardberg or whatever, never gets any forward momentum, and they just get stoned, and that's probably why they were doing whatever they were doing on 4th and 1 there at before the half, because they just can't make a tough yard when they need to. And then the third thing, if the post-game press conference, I thought there was something pretty intriguing on the Penn State thing. They talked about bowl eligibility, and Rule said, well, the only thing I told my daughter, because that means we're going on vacation. I mean, do you tell your daughter that she's going on a bowl vacation if you're not expecting to be there? Because I'll tell you, the Penn State job will be filled by then.
No, yeah, exactly. Yes, I know. That is kind of – I never thought, Henry, and I grew up a Penn State fan. I never thought that was a job that he was going to either be offered or take. So I'm on that side of it. I do want to ask you, obviously you have some more free time now. You've written a bunch of great books. Is there a Husker subject you have not yet written about that maybe you would want to write about?
Yeah, there actually is another Husker book. I'm kind of interested in the Huskers of the 1920s.
Oh,
and
bug eaters.
The coach then, I think, was Fred Dawson, and there's kind of an intriguing story related to him and Newt Rockne, and that's what I'm kind of pursuing. I have some other books that I'm kind of pushing before that one, so that one's a ways down the road. But if I do another Husker book, I think that'll be it.
See, I thought it would be, you were going to say the Frost years, which I was, that's what I thought.
Anybody wants to read that book, man.
I think, hey, Henry, you'll be surprised when somebody's writing a book right now. When that book comes out, it's going to be very interesting, the interest in that book.
Well, I'm embarrassed to say that I'm the guy who wrote the Frost
I remember.
book. It told the story of how he came to be at Nebraska with still moves and stuff. That was a pretty damn interesting story. It didn't start off as a comic book. They just took the illustrations from that story and turned it into a comic book. But yeah, that's living out there, unfortunately.
No doubt about it. Henry, we appreciate it, man. I'll see you down the road.
You bet. Thanks, Michael.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. Henry Cordes, of course, worked for the Omaha World Herald for a very long time and was a part of some of the recent cuts they've had over there, but does a great job. If you haven't read the Devaney book, it's great. It's The Building of the Dynasty. And there's a great line in there where they're kind of talking about what it's going to take for Nebraska to move from being, good. Obviously, you had Devaney takes over. Then all of a sudden, Nebraska is back to where Nebraska thought they would be before the 1940s. And then you got a situation where that they hit this wall, in like 67, 68, where things aren't working right. I'm not mistaken. I believe they're 6-5 in those years or something like that. And they lose some really bad games at the end of the year. And then they make those changes by, going with offensive coordinator Tom Osborne and kind of going with a mix at defensive coordinator along with Monty Kiffin. But the real key, and there's a great quote there from Tom Osborne saying it, where they went from being a team that challenged to be great, right? They add Johnny Rodgers to a team where now they have a chance to win a national championship. Like, he took them from being really good to being a national championship team, which I thought was one of the more intriguing things about that book. And then, of course, he wrote, Undefeated and what Nebraska did in those years of 93. I mean, it should be 94, 95, and 97. So good stuff. And the 96 chapter might be the best chapter. It really is. There's so much good stuff in 96. So 95, obviously, a big part of it is how great Nebraska is, but also the beating that Scott Frost was taking as a scout team quarterback from Jason Peter and Grant Wistrom and all those guys, which is really intriguing too. And then, of course, 96 and making the decision, Tom Osborne was thinking about retiring. And I think the first place I read about the fact that Jason Peter and Grant Wistrom went into the office and said to Osborne, hey, if you come back, we'll come back, because they could have gone to the NFL. I think the first place I read it was in that book. I hadn't heard it before. Good stuff in there. There's good stuff about what happened with Scott Frost and Lawrence Phillips and all that stuff. So they're just great books, man. They're just really good books. If you're a Husker fan, you should certainly read them. Henry's got great books. Mike Babcock's got great books. Sean Callahan's got a couple really good history ones as well. So a lot of good stuff about that. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll get into some of those bad things I was talking about, some questionable things that happened in the game. 402-951-1620 is the number. Steve Sipple, a little bit after 9 o'clock, joining us as well here on Severe Reaction.
Now, back to Severe Reaction, powered by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Here's your host, Michael Severe, on 1620 The Zone.
The first down is upheld.
That's incredible. This is incredible.
He doesn't gain possession until he's at the 24, maybe even the 23 and a half. That's a full yard shot.
That is absolutely incredible.
Now, on the review of the fourth down, what were you told? It appeared that he was short.
I was told nothing. I was trying to calm. I was more worried about Troy. I was trying to calm Troy down. Because I don't know. They didn't. The guys on my side were communicating, but they didn't even come over and tell me. I'm looking at it up there. I saw him bobble it. I hadn't even challenged it. And then they said the buzzer wasn't working. If they had to run that play, I'd been really upset. So I challenged it. Then they said no. Wait, they buzzed it down. But it looked like the ball went up in the air. But I'm going to stay away from that one. And like I said, the great thing for me is when you have an AD that's fiery and right is right, wrong is wrong. And we didn't get many breaks today. I'll just leave it at that.
Welcome back to a reaction here on 1620 The Zone, 402-951-1620. We'll get back to the phone calls in just a second. The fourth down play that we were talking about, 38 seconds left, going into the half. Nebraska comes out in a three-by because Lindenmeyer comes over and makes it a three-by at the bottom of the screen. And you have Dane Key in the game and Isaiah Hunter. At the top, in line, you have Harburg, who actually really just goes down and blocks, which honestly, it looks like, one of those things where you're not supposed to do that. He goes down and blocks. He doesn't really run a route. And so then from there, and I had someone comment on DM about this, you certainly do see this route run a lot by the Kansas City Chiefs. I remember they ran this with a backup quarterback at the end of the game. Mahomes is banged up. I think it was against the Bengals where he gets banged up. And he has to come out and they run this. It's basically a sprint out, which I hate. I hate sprint out. One, because if you do run sprint out, it's got to be a really accurate, more than accurate, a precise pass. We saw it twice yesterday, once from Dylan and once from Preston Stone, where they ran sprint out and they weren't accurate enough. Ball was behind or it was high. Well, usually with sprint out, the guy who is running that route is covered tightly. So if you give it to him in the right spot, he can get the first down. But if you make it behind him or higher, then it doesn't happen. So not a huge fan of sprint out. Takes half of the field away. Just not a fan. You got to be really good at it to make it work. But that's what they're running. So you've got two choices on it. I don't know where Isaiah Hunter goes. I know that he ends up being covered man to man. And so I'm not sure if he runs an over route. He's running a go. I'm not sure. So from there, you have Dane Key, who's essentially running a pick. It's at the line of scrimmage. It's not a big deal. It's completely legal. And I think they're going to swing the ball out to Emmett, who's coming out of the backfield. And then Emmett is going to get the first down, right? Because it's 1 yard, but it's a long one. It's a little bit over a one. So anyway, you're going to swing the ball there and do that. So you have Lindenmeyer into the line of scrimmage. You have Dane Key, who is causing a pick, who does come open. He does flash open for a pop pass. After he blocks or interferes or picks, he then turns and faces Dylan. Dylan looks right at him and decides that throw is too tight. I'm not going to make it. I think he could have made it. I really do. Because the linebacker at the bottom is leaving to go run with Emmett. The linebacker above him is kind of drifted away from Dane Key. So Dane Key is open. Flash is open. You got to make the throw. Dylan feels the pressure, cocks his arm, doesn't throw it. If he throws it, it's probably complete and it's a first down. So then from there, Dylan's like panics. And I don't know, because you can't see it on the screen. They don't show a replay, where Isaiah Hunter is on this play. I do know that once Dylan starts to climb the pocket and is being chased, great job by Dane Key to move to get open, right? So scramble drill. Short, deep, deep, short, right? That's a scramble drill. Dylan moves to start running and climbing the pocket, and it's hard to see. I don't know if he can see it because Dane Key is coming open behind the offensive and defensive line, but Dane Key does come open. Great job by him trying to give Dillon a place. But it's good coverage by Northwestern. It would have been a tight throw to Dane Key. My point about the whole thing is, at that point, you had something like 19 carries for Nebraska's rush offense, averaging over 5 yards a rush. You were already 2 of 2 on fourth down at that point. Now you were only 1 of 5 on third, but I give the ball to my best player at that point, and it's Emmett Johnson. And I let Emmett go get the first down. That's what I do. Because they had been pushing those guys around. But they decided to run this play, and I see that. I mean, I'm sure they practiced the hell out of it, and they thought it would work, and it had a chance to work, but it didn't. But it was just ended up being a really ugly fourth down call. Let's go back to the phones, 402-951-1620, before we take a break and end the first hour and get to Steve Sipple. That's where Wyatt is this morning. What is up, Wyatt? How you doing, man?
I'm just solo with the girls.
Oh, you're so lucky. What a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely. There's, sitting there watching K-pop right now, so they're good.
K-pop. Now, okay, that is so stereotypical. I don't know what to say, Bubba.
Well, now it's everybody. It's K-pop Demon Hunters on Netflix. Ask a teenager.
I'd have to ask a teenager about that. I do not know about. Oh, actually, Logan has watched that. He told me he watched that. The Demon Hunter thing? Yeah, he has watched it. Okay. I have not. Go
ahead. Anyway, I actually went to the game yesterday with my buddy Jay and his family. So
nice.
Shout out to them if they're listening, driving back down to Texas. But I'm disappointed I get to see your mom and Chris over there too.
Yeah, well, they were in the fancy club seats, so they were hard to get to. And then the second half, my mom actually sat in the inside part because she's a little chilly outside. But yeah, her first Husker game at the age of 89, and she gets a win, so it's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yep.
But I was a little worried coming in because that's probably the most laid back atmosphere in Lincoln coming in, and then it felt very quiet, coming into the game, which kind of worried me a little bit as far as the fan experience. But my question is this year, because Carter Nelson's a sophomore this year and he'll be a junior next year.
Yes.
To this point, is it kind of a disappointment, or is it more still on plan for what they want to do with him or expect from him?
I think a couple things you got to think about. Wyatt is him having surgeries, and when you lose those off seasons, and he also has a guy who's in his 5th year who's a converted tight end ahead of him, and a Lindenmeyer who's in his 4th year ahead of him. So once those veterans are gone, you'd hope that he'd be able to step up. But it's obviously a letdown from where he was rated. But with those surgeries during the offseason, I don't know where he's been health-wise coming into these seasons.
Okay.
I was
kind of curious. I saw him on special teams.
Yes.
But, beyond that, not much.
Yeah, he's on the punt coverage, and he's on the punt team too. So, but I mean, we'll see. He certainly has the athleticism, and on top of all of that, Wyatt, that I said, he is also still learning how to play 11-man football.
Yeah.
So all of that together, you got to give him a little bit of break for development. He'll just be a third-year sophomore, right, next year?
I think so.
Yeah, because he redshirted last year, didn't he? 4 games. I have to look that up. I'm not sure. I think he did 4 games last year.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, man.
All right, well, the girls say hi.
Have a great day. Bye, girls.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye. Yep. So, it's tough, man. When you miss an off season because of surgery and all you're doing is rehab and you're not getting the work you can do to develop being a better route runner, to going against 11-on-11, all of that, it's tough for him. I always thought it would take a while, and I said this when he was coming out. To convert from 8-man is one thing, but also to that level of speed into the Big Ten, along with the hip issues, this was expected. If he plays like I think he can next year, this guy's a top 5-6 tight. He could be a top 5-6 tight end in the league with his speed, overall athleticism. I think he can be, but have a healthy offseason, veterans leave, and you take over. That's what happens. We'll take a break. We come back. We will chat with our good friend, Stephen M. Sipple. Michael, please refer to the coaches you were referring to that I need to take a look at. Well, defensive line. Look at that, coach, and see what's happening there, because that's extremely questionable for me, in my opinion, based off of the talent I thought they had coming in. Anyway, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll chat with Stephen M. Sipple. Show is brought to you by Equitable Bank. They take banking personally and, of course, answer the phone on the first ring, which is just a remarkable It's some sort of wizardry. I don't know how they do it. Brought to you by Nebraska Medicine as well. Join our team at nebraskamed.com/careers. We come back here on 1620 The Zone.
Now, back to Severe Reaction, powered by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Here's your host, Michael Severe, on 1620 The Zone.
35 Williams down the sideline in midfield. Puts it at the tackle 30, 25-20. Williams all the way. Touchdown, Huskers! $94 yards.
Heck of an effort.
There was a lot of great blocks out there, and for no one to clip or hold or hit someone in the back. I mean, anytime you run a field bounce return, you put yourself at risk. They have one of the best kickoff teams we've seen in terms of getting down the field, and had a good return. I think early. The first one I think went out to like the 30 or so. You guys might remember better than me. And then used the south wind in our favor, knowing that we would have a returnable kick and bounced it back. So really happy for Kenneth. Big time play.
Welcome back. Severe Reaction here on 1620 The Zone. Hour number 2 kicks off with the co-host of the world-famous Husker Online post-game show, headline show, many shows during the weeks. He is a podcaster now and a columnist. Stephen M. Sipple joining us here on 1620 The Zone. Good morning, Sip.
Michael, how are you?
I'm good, man. I have tons of questions. I'm going to jump right in. So Nebraska's obviously at 21-6. Had a good chance to put it away. Some things didn't work out. But you've talked a lot about resolve this year. Could you kind of go over that again with more resolve, the way they played that fourth quarter to come back and win the game?
Yeah. I mean, I go first to the drive that gave them a 28-21 lead.
Yep.
That was, I guess, that showed a lot of resolve. I mean, those passes by Dillon don't complete themselves. Now, on the first one, it was a 3rd and 7, in Nebraska territory, and I thought second effort by Emmett Johnson, he kind of twisted to get the first down.
Yep.
Kind of twisted his body, lunged forward, whatever he had to do. Really, I thought the best throw during that period, during that drive, was when Dillon stepped up, somehow avoided number 4, their defensive lineman, and gunned it. He gunned it for a 19-yard completion to Hunter, I believe. So, Dillon made some great throws, but there's also some great individual plays. Dane Key broke a tackle to get the first down. Now, I thought the last 3rd down, 3rd and 5 from Northwestern's 11 was just a very simple route, just kind of a quick out, right?
Little pick. It was a pick play.
Yeah. Yeah, a little pick play. Had to be executed, though, and it was executed well. So, for Nebraska to come back in that situation when I don't think most people were overly optimistic and just march it down the field was big. And then the same thing on defense. Right away, you need a stop there with 2:44 left. And what happens? Northwestern gets a 13-yard gain on a pass play to their dude. And then the tight end gets a 22-yarder, and you're like, oh, here we go. 1st and 10 at Nebraska 39. But that's when they dialed up heat. Butler dialed up heat on 3rd and 6, 4th and 6, and they closed the door. There's a lot to be said for that. There's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah, they it's interesting because you know how bad they were pretty much the whole game on 3rd down, and how good Northwestern was. And the fourth quarter completely flipped. Like I think Northwestern had been 1 of 4, and then Nebraska had the 4 on that one drive and like 5 of 6 on 3rd down, and it just turned the whole game around. Just turning around 3rd down.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly how they did that, but I mean, let's face it, Northwestern's a little limited on 3rd down. I mean, they're
on third and over 5. They are, 3rd and over 5. They're definitely limited.
Yeah, Preston Stone he's a savvy quarterback. He's 24 years old. He's just limited arm. He has limited arm talent, and they're not great at receiver. They're not terrible, but that's just not their game. 3rd and long is not Northwestern's game with Preston Stone. Yeah,
he watched him at SMU, and he had a couple injuries and took a little bit from him, but he could never throw the ball outside the numbers. I talk a lot about not being able to open up your hips when you're throwing to the left, but he doesn't do anything well throwing the ball outside the numbers. It's just not his thing. I don't even know why they try it. But
yeah, he's very internal, middle of the field.
Yes,
internal routes they call them, and that's what he is good at that.
Yeah, big time with that. So Nebraska runs the ball almost 40 times. You look at the game plan. I'm sure you're thinking at some point, why wasn't this game plan the one on Friday night last week?
Mm-hmm. It's curious. You only get a little. You really got to listen closely to the coaches during the week, and you do kind of pick up some things. The game plan against Minnesota, and it was going to involve a lot of downfield throws. I think Nebraska thought it could take advantage of Minnesota's secondary, and maybe say a secondary that doesn't have a lot of athleticism. And that never materialized because the pass rush was withering. Nebraska changed things up. It doesn't. It's still. I mean, I'm kind of diverging from your question here, but it still looks really disjointed to me. My concern about the offense is when it looks like each play is its own entity, which it is to a certain extent, but when it doesn't seem like there's anything. It doesn't seem like they're building toward anything. It's just. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I don't know what to make of that wild of a swing where You're not running it, then all of a sudden you're leaning on it. So then you ask yourself, what is Nebraska? What is Nebraska? What's their identity? And I was telling Sean, I used to have this conversation with Pelini, and I'd try to get him, in a one-on-one setting and say, what's your offensive identity?
Right.
And he'd look at me with a blank stare and say, we're multiple.
Oh, I hate that word.
I know. But I think that's what they would tell you. We're multiple. We do what we have to do. I don't know how I feel about that. I kind of feel like I'd rather have an offense that imposes its will, but maybe that's unrealistic.
Yeah. So obviously the best team in this league is Ohio State, but Indiana's pretty close. And if you look at Indiana, you think of them being high flying. They run the hell out of the ball.
I know they do.
Most attempts in the Big Ten going into Saturday. Most attempts. So they have an identity.
The best teams usually are more run oriented. So that was good. It was good, and I thought it makes a lot of sense right now to lean on Emmett Johnson. I'm not a play caller, and I don't know how to devise a game plan, but I can see Emmett Johnson's legs are still live.
Yep.
He's your best option, obviously. It's not perfect though. He has to break a lot of tackles to get to 124 yards. He has to do a lot on his own, and so it's not a perfect picture. I get that. First and second down runs there's some peril involved in that. Oftentimes it's second and long. So it's not a perfect picture offense. It's far from it.
Well, it looks a lot like Emmett. I mean not Emmett. It looks a lot like when Amir Abdullah was here, and he'd have to make some guys miss. But like I would almost say, have Emmett or Amir have one guy they need to beat, and you block everybody else, and he's going to make that guy miss.
Yeah, he does. He'll make guys miss in the backfield. You're like, oh, no. So yeah, his jump cut's extraordinary. He runs so hard, and he seems to have pretty good vision. So yeah, that's big tip of the cap to Emmett Johnson. He was gigantic, and I think you're gotten about. And I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but you're going to have to do that against USC. You can run on USC.
Yeah, they have been run on. Obviously, Notre Dame did it with two of the best running backs in the country. It's also the best offense Nebraska is going to face against USC. But we'll get to that at the end. So portal, right? We talk a lot about the portal. Can you imagine what Nebraska would be without getting Sierra last year and Andrew Marshall this year?
Oh God, yeah, that'd be trouble. Yeah, you're right. No, but that's the world, and I'm not downgrading Nebraska. That's the world that we live in. They went out and got some good players, and those are two of them. Rocco, and you can go down the line. They did a pretty good job. But yeah, those guys are critical. Marshall and Sierra. Sierra's. I mean, you hear Rule talk about the impact his leadership has on the team, and he's become a great. He moved into that nickel position, which is not easy to do mid-flight. And Marshall's just been good from the start. They knew he was going to be good.
Look, man, I don't know how mature Steve Sipple was at 22. I do know how mature Michael Severe was at 22. That dude is put both of our maturity levels together. That's where he is. He's an adult. That is an adult at 22 years old.
Sierra, right?
Yeah, he's wise, man. Listen to him talk sometimes. He's just a wise kid.
Yeah, he's going to be a good NFL player, I think.
Yeah.
And that wisdom is critical. I mean, it is. It helps. It's not, it's not the be all end all, but it really helps in that world.
Sip, here's what I never want to do. I never want to put myself into the brain of Stephen M. Sipple. But I tried to do it yesterday because of one of your tweets. So you tweet out what the crowd is yelling about and what they're yelling to the refs, right? And you say a chorus of boos turned into refs you, and instead of putting just sucks, you put little line. Is sucks a bad word for Stephen M. Sipple? I don't know. I thought I knew all the bad words. Is sucks one for you?
I don't know if there's a degree of professionalism that enters into that conversation.
Okay.
I don't know if it's good. You know what's interesting about that?
What?
So after the game, I go and walk Bullet, and there's a playground by the house.
Mm-hmm.
There's kids out there playing soccer, and they were chanting, "Refs, you suck." I just didn't feel it was great. I didn't, I was like, that's what we do.
Yeah.
The kids listen to those games and they hear that. So I kind of felt good about putting those little dash marks in there. I didn't contribute to those kids on the playground. They were playing soccer. I don't know why. They were just being kids, but I didn't contribute to that. That wasn't me.
That's funny, man. That's fun. Your dog's name is Bullet?
Yes, Bullet.
Is that based off of Flash from Smokey and the Bandit?
No, he's really fast.
Oh, he's really fast. Okay. So sometimes when you name a dog a name like that, it's kind of like counterintuitive or whatever. Like he's a slow dog, you call him Bullet?
No.
Okay.
Bullet's super fast.
Okay. Because Flash from not Smokey and the Bandit, from the Dukes of Hazzard was a little dog that didn't move much, so he called him Flash.
No, we didn't do the counterintuitive.
Okay. I was just checking to see. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, Bullet's 11 now, so he's not.
Ooh, damn.
Not as fast as he used to be, but he's still pretty fast.
What kind of dog is he?
Mini Aussie.
Oh yeah, because he's used to working, right? He's used to getting out there and working and
oh, he loves it. Yeah,
he's a working dog.
He is the best dog in the world for sure.
Switching over to a little sadder topic.
Yeah, let's not talk about Bull.
I know. Sorry, I didn't know you had a dog named Bull. That's awesome. A little bit sadder topic. Obviously, Teddy Prohaska goes down. Only sack Nebraska gives up. They give up because his knee gives way again. All the fighting to come back, all the surgeries, all the contributions he's given. It is really sad to see Teddy go out that way. It looks like a serious injury.
Yeah, Teddy is. He worked really hard to get back. He's loyal to this He's been very loyal to the program. And it was a great story that he got back, and he worked himself back into that, to being in that starting tackle conversation. So yeah, it was rough. And god dang, so what Rule referred to after the game, his teammates getting the game ball and presenting the game ball to Teddy, tells you so much about Teddy.
Right.
I'm not surprised though. I haven't been. It's not like I know Teddy very well. I have a friend who knows him very well, and I've been around him enough to know he is a great dude. So yeah, it sucks. Football is brutal.
Yep.
It's a brutal sport, and that stuff happens. You sign up knowing that could happen, and it never is good. I'm always struck by how brutal that sport is.
Yeah, I sit here with a artificial knee and say, yeah, you're right. So eight games in. I don't think we talk enough about that part of it. Like Sierra mentioned about his arm bothering him and the trainer's working on that. And you got Gatula who's trying to play with an injury and he's struggling. And I'm sure Emmett has got all kinds of bumps and bruises and Raiola. And I mean, we don't talk enough about where these guys are through 8 games. I mean, they're gonna really need that bye week before Penn State.
Yeah, you know what? They've come through pretty well, all things considered. Now it is starting to add up a little bit. That's what the injury situation is starting to add up, but that's what you'd expect.
Yeah.
But by and large, this team injuries haven't been a major storyline. Again, it's starting to build up, but gosh, I mean, I look at
other teams.
Emmett Jones, physical wonder to me,
yeah.
and you can't. I feel like you have to give voice to just what kind of shape he got himself into, or maybe he's just always that way. But I've seen running backs here at this time of year where you can visibly see their legs deadening.
Yep.
Where they're just not as live. I've seen a lot actually. His aren't like that. He's still very live-legged. If I was Rule, though, I'd keep him. I wouldn't practice him hardly at all.
Yeah.
Because I think you got to load him up again this week. I mean, I think 22 to 27, 28 carries would be apropos against USC.
Yeah, there's a lot of injured teams. I mean, you look at, USC's coming in here playing their 3rd and 4th running backs currently,
right?
Because they lost those guys.
I think it speaks to the overall operation, not just Corey Campbell, but just the overall health and nutrition, the the head coach's emphasis on recovery. I know he talked a lot about recovery when he first got the job. I assume he still does that. It's you know what, you have to be mindful as a player. All those things are over there for their taking. It doesn't mean that kids use them all the time. All those elements that can help your body are there,
right?
But you got to use them, and it looks like the kids are using them.
No doubt about that. A little bit about the Big Ten. So obviously, Ohio State and Indiana; those are your two big dogs. And then I'm going to put Oregon by themselves at 3. But then you have this group. You have Iowa, USC, Michigan, maybe Illinois, and Nebraska. Is that kind of what you feel for that?
Where's Washington?
So you do. So I think Washington is really good at home. They're a completely different team. I really haven't seen a lot of teams that are as different from home to road as Washington is across the board. Great win yesterday at home, but when they're on the road, they're bad. So I'll throw Washington in there too. You like all those like 5-6 teams in the middle?
Yep, those are the ones. I don't think you missed anybody. Iowa has seemingly sort of. I mean, Iowa's profile has been enhanced the last few weeks.
Oh yeah.
They are rugged up front. I misjudged them. I misjudged their offensive line. I didn't think it was very good, and it's really good.
They got 2 potential All-Americans. Every time you would say that about, there was a coach I know you talked to who wasn't a fan of their offensive line. I was like, they got 2 guys who could be first day draft picks and could be All-Americans. They're not bad.
Yeah, I saw one series against Penn State and thought, oh boy.
Yeah.
One series is all you got to look at.
Yeah.
They're big and ornery, and so that offensive line, if you're a Nebraska fan, should really concern you.
And their defensive line is doing what Nebraska's not doing. It's causing havoc. It's getting sacks. It's getting tackled for losses. It's getting hits on the quarterback. It's getting all of that. And is there, outside of the offensive line conversation, which I know happens a whole hell of a lot, and again, 1 sack yesterday, and it was based off of a guy getting hurt and a couple pressures, but the D-line, that's my bigger concern. If you're not getting any, what did they have, like 4 pressures yesterday total? I mean, you're just not getting any pressures.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about it. It looked against Michigan State like it was ready to turn the corner.
Yeah.
I've made so many wrong prognostications this year, I almost forget how many. I thought, and I wrote it, I thought they were turning the corner against Michigan State. It wasn't as good against Maryland. It hasn't, the push up front, the overall play up front, the last 2 games hasn't been that good. So it wasn't horrible. It wasn't horrible against Northwestern, but it wasn't, Rule put it pretty well on this past Monday, because I don't want to just defend, you know what I mean?
Oh no,
you want to wreak havoc.
Yeah.
You want to wreak havoc. You want to force turnovers, get sacks, be disruptive, not just defend, like that's sort of the, that's the bare minimum expectation. You don't want to just be bare minimum expectation, or you just end up 6-6 again, right?
No, of course. I mean, Butler said it a couple of weeks ago, and I loved when he said it, but the main job is to affect the quarterback. You got to affect the quarterback. And I don't think that Preston Stone was that affected yesterday for most of the game.
It's not like you're seeing a lot of just, I don't know. He also said to force turnovers, there has to be high impact plays fairly regularly.
Yeah.
And you're not really seeing that either. So they got a ways to go. The way I look at this whole thing is this is growth. They're trying to grow as a program.
Yeah.
You're seeing some growth. Is it where you want to be on either side? No. I'm a little disappointed with the coordinators. But there's, 6-2 and a chance to play USC on NBC in a game that means a lot is growth. So it's there.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of, Nebraska's a deeply flawed team. They're doing a pretty good job of working around those flaws.
Everybody's got them. Everybody.
Oh, God.
I go back and I watch every Big Ten game each week, and Michigan yesterday, there's a sack fumble that happens that they end up calling Michigan State offsides for. If they don't call that offsides, that could be a completely different game. It gives Michigan State the lead on the scoop and score. and then all of a sudden they call offsides and Michigan goes down and scores. I mean, every team. Purdue played with their backup quarterback yesterday and looked almost better offensively than they did the week before with their starter. And you know what happened in Minnesota against Iowa. I mean, it's a crazy league, man.
It is a crazy league. Those two teams at the top,
yeah, they're good.
Aren't very flawed.
No,
they're not.
They're brilliant.
But everybody else, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, everybody.
That number, by the way, against UCLA opened at I think it was 22.5 or something. And by the time it closed, it was 29. And you're like, you know what? That's not enough. It's not anywhere near enough. Give me 40 for that number. Would have maybe are we going to lunch the bye week? When are we going to lunch?
Yeah, I thought we were going to Cassio's.
We are going to Cassio's. They have lunch.
Oh, they have lunch.
Oh, yeah, they have a great lunch. That's when I always go for lunch.
That's a good play by you, though. Let's do lunch because it knocks the bill in half, probably.
Well, I'm not worried about. Listen, I work 17 jobs. All right, if I can't buy lunch for somebody losing a bet, I shouldn't be.
Thanks for bringing it up. I wasn't going to bring it up.
Oh no, it's fine. Listen, I go back and I watch that game. The whole game, and Lincoln Riley, dude, he's criminal coaching malpractice. You don't give a ball to your wide receiver in the rain to make a throw. Who does that? It's a 3-point game. Who does that? Lincoln Riley does it. It doesn't make any sense. And then on 4th and inches, with big old Jordan Maeva back there, they run sprint out. I mean, I'm like, he should have been fired. I know you're not gonna fire him, but I would have made him walk home or something from that game with those 2 calls he made. Just ridiculous. Anyway,
he's one of the best play callers in the world.
You know what? We've seen a lot of those guys, and they all overthink it. Remember Bill Callahan overthinking stuff? A lot of guys just overthink it. What are you doing? What are you doing if you're Nebraska and it's 4th and 1 at the end of the half, and you're trying to run sprint out, and you're making it harder on yourself? They were averaging over 5 yards a carry. You don't give the ball to Emmett Johnson? What are you doing?
That was a very interesting call. It blew up. Northwestern obviously jumped it, right? They knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Right?
Denke's open, but it's quick. He'd had to let it go right away.
I thought Dylan made a good adjustment and just fumbled,
Yeah.
But yeah, I hand the ball. Yeah, I don't know if I like talking to you about stuff like this. You just do a straight handoff. I don't know about that. I want to do something half creative to get it to Emmett.
Oh, you can put somebody on an orbit motion or something like that to get the guys to move, because those guys were following Barney around. But I honestly believe you load up and you put – so their best running play I like for them now is single back, deep set, where he's 7-8 yards behind Dylan under center. I love that because it gives Emmett the chance to see so much before he gets to the line of scrimmage and make guys miss and find holes. I love that now. That's what I would have run.
You're good at this stuff. Do they? I'm not. But do they? I would put Dylan under center more and pitch it. I want to see just.
You like toss. You like toss. I know. Ask Damon about. Damon loves toss. Is his favorite play. He loves toss.
Yeah, I'd like to see that more. Something like that on that play to get him to the edge.
You've got to have players, both wide receivers and tight ends and tackles, who can secure the edge. And if you don't feel comfortable in securing the edge, that's a loss waiting to happen. But you have to have those guys to be able to do it.
But yeah, I like them going for it. Me and Chattel had a long conversation.
Yeah, you go for it there. Yeah.
About that. I like going for it.
And the wind too. Don't forget about the wind. It was nasty.
You're into the wind. Yeah, you're into the wind.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it. You're trying to get all the points you can, and I get that conversation too. But you have it. You are running it pretty well. I don't mind trying to run it there. That play though, that sprint out play, Dylan's good at, so I can see calling that.
Yeah, it's tough. He made the same throw though earlier in the game, and he missed it inside, which caused, I believe it was Dane Key to get tackled and didn't get the first down. It's just you have to be precise on that throw. It's hard to do that.
He's pretty good at that.
Yeah, Preston Stone missed it. He missed it twice, and Dylan missed it once. So I hate sprint out. Sprint out is like when I go to hell and they're making me watch football, all the plays will be sprint out short side because I hate it so much.
That sounds like a pretty palatable hell.
It'd be horrible because it drives me nuts. You take away half the field. You got to be. It'd be horrible for me. It'd be bad.
No, that sounds like a very pleasant hell to me.
It's not. If you hate sprint out as much as I hate sprint out, sprint out cost the Saints getting the Super Bowl. Let's not talk about it. Sip, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, and we will set up time to go get lunch.
All right, thank you.
All right, man. Thank you. Appreciate it. Stephen M. Sipple, Husker Online. Lots of stuff. You can find his work, of course. Take a break. We'll come back. I want to get into the referees and talk about that ineptitude that happened there on Saturday. Of course, the show is brought to you by Equitable Bank, where we take banking personally, and by Nebraska Medicine. Join our team at nebraskamed.com/careers, 402-951-1620 if you want to join the conversation as well. We're back here with more Severe Reaction.
Now, back to Severe Reaction, powered by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Here's your host, Michael Severe, on 1620 The Zone.
From the 12, Viola out of the gun, single back left. Claims the snap, off play action, lobs a fade near left side of the end zone for Hunter. Twisting catch. Hunter's got it. Touchdown Huskers. A back shoulder fade. A spinning catch for Hunter. 20-6 with 7:39 to go in the third.
Today was the best I've seen him in terms of just playing one snap at a time. Even early in the game, though, he never really got into a rhythm because we were running the football at a pretty high level and a pretty good clip. And I thought Dylan, the growth, you sometimes forget because he's so grown how young he is. And I thought that was his best game in terms of poise and presence. And make no mistake, it's another time that, the offense had to go down and win the game. And we went down and won the game on offense. And then obviously the defense gets to stop. And then we win the game in 4 minutes. So that's a situational clinic. And I think that all starts with your quarterback.
Welcome back to Sphere Reaction here on 1620 The Zone. Nebraska moves to 6-2, win 28-21 over Northwestern. I thought one of the funniest things from the game was every time Nebraska would make a big play on special teams, you had coaches like kind of running from Mike Eckler, like not wanting to be involved in the celebration. I know at one point Coach Rule kind of pushed him off, like, hey, stop. Hogerson like braced himself for the shot he was going to take. It's just hilarious when Nebraska makes a big play on special teams and how Mike Eckler just goes from coach to coach and just beats the hell out of him. Quick officiating, some things that drive. First of all, I used to make fun of Sip all the time because he would say there are too many games on TV. Made fun of him all the time. But the more I listen to and watch these games, the more I go, they obviously don't have enough broadcasters, right, to give you a quality broadcast. Some of the color commentators they have now are just, I don't understand. It's just these guys know the game, but man, they're not good at delivering it on TV. And then the referees yesterday. So bunch of things, right? So one of the funnier sets were because, the referees have a procedural thing they do with the way they do everything, whether the way they throw the flag, the way they indicate what the play is, the way the white hat says what it is, how they do all of that. So the accepted, not accepted, / we're taking the play off sides early on in the game. Like, I don't know who was more confused than that. The referees, the spotting of the ball, hell, the chain crew was really complicated. They didn't know what to do based off of what the official initially said, right? It's really simple. If you take the penalty, you get 5 yards, you get the first down. If you decline the penalty, you get a first down because it was like about 4.5 yards of rushing. It was a first down no matter what. But they were so confused. They just stopped twice. It was weird.
It took like 3 minutes just to get another play up.
Like 3 minutes easily for that. It made no sense. The white hat could not remember the difference between Northwestern and Nebraska. Now, I understand they're both known as NU, which can be confusing, but he kept saying the wrong names. Once he said that the Nebraska had lost the timeout because of a challenge that Northwestern had made, and just weird. That was funny. So the third quarter, Emmett Johnson reception on 3rd and 9 easily reaches the line. Easily. It's a bad spot. I don't know what's going on with that. The spotting in general wasn't very good all day. I don't know when we're going to reach the point where we have the chip in the football that actually works. And I know a football is oblong, so it's hard to do a chip.
Yeah.
Like tennis ball, it's easy. It's in the middle. But still, that's crazy. That was bad. And then, of course, the spot on 4th and 3 with the juggled catch. It doesn't – Stevie Wonder after that was saying that's not a first down.
That definitely changed momentum in Northwestern's favor.
It's 21-6. They don't make the 4th down. Now Nebraska's got the ball going to put the game away.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right? Northwestern then scores a touchdown. It's just a different game. Makes no sense. And then I'm not going to leave out on Nebraska side. They missed the holding. Andrew Marshall on that sluggo grabs the wide receiver. He does. He got beat on it earlier in the game on a great throw and a great catch. So when it happens to him again, he thinks the slant's coming quickly because they need to get a first down, pumps the slant, beats him on it. He grabs him on his waist to hold. Now, I wouldn't have called the interference at the end because I think when he put his hand on his hip, the ball was kind of already going over his head. So I probably wouldn't have called that. But the holding is what limits him from catching the ball, and it should have been called. It should have been automatic first down, and then Nebraska's got to make another defensive stop. But, they miss calls both ways. The whole way the procedure of the game just didn't feel fluid. It was like they had gone out the night before, had a whole lot of fun, wasn't quite ready for an 11 a.m. start. That's kind of what it felt like. It just wasn't great. We'll take a phone call before we take a quick break and get caught up on our breaks. That's where, hey, Random Mike, what's up? How you doing, man?
Love you, bro. Forgive me, because a lot of times on Sunday I can't listen to much of your show. But Dylan's interception, and there's at least 3 of them on 2 this year, where he's just not seeing the underneath zone. I mean, these are kind of basic things.
It's the RP. So in the RPO, it's that RPO. It's the same pick that Preston Stone threw. The guy gets lost behind the offensive line or the umpire, and you immediately making the throw off of reading the end, and boom, you throw the pick. It's that RPO, man. It kills you.
But but I mean, you got a crossing right to left.
Yep.
And he's obviously looking at that.
Yep.
And but the underneath zone coming from the other way. I mean, but isn't this kind of 101 for quarterbacks? You've got to, if you're going to throw that, you've got to be aware of what's in front of you.
So I'll make the argument that there's times where see it, throw it is applicable, but most times, I'd probably say 75% of the time, it's throw it before you actually see it nowadays. With the amount of crossing routes as you have and the amount of RPOs you have, it's not as much see it, throw it. Because a lot of times now, if you wait to see it, throw it, you get picked too because you're late. So it's a bad throw, don't get me wrong, but I understand. We see it a lot. You see it a lot every week now in college football.
Yeah. I mean, you're right about the referees. I mean, let's face it. In this country, there's a shortage of good help, and a lot of times they're too old or too young. The young ones are going to be real good. Our defense, really young, going to be real good. Hey, did you see Cole Payton?
Oh, I did. I didn't see. I was reading. I went to a band competition last night for my son, so I didn't watch it. But I was reading online. Yeah, how'd he do?
Virtually perfect. I mean, he's going to win the equivalent of the Heisman for the
Harlan Hill Trophy.
It's the Walter Payton Trophy, isn't it? The best player in
1AA. Oh yeah, because Division II is Harlan Hill. Walter Payton is Jackson State Trophy. My fault. Yeah, sorry about that.
He's going to win it. He's playing fantastic, and he's on the. You saw the draft. He's going to be drafted.
He is on. So we give out Male Athlete of the Year award for the Oscars, which is the Omaha Sports Commission, and he's one of our. We already put him in the list. He's going to be on the list for Male Athlete of the Year already.
Do you know how fast he is? I mean, the guy's huge, but he doesn't get caught from behind.
Guy's an incredible athlete, great baseball player, everything he does. I would have loved to seen him at Nebraska. I think he would have had to probably move to tight end, but I'd have loved to seen him here.
Yes. Hey, listen, love you, bro. Take care.
All right, take it easy. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We got to get caught up on our breaks. We'll go along with Sip. More here on Severe Reaction on 1620 Zone.
Now, back to Severe Reaction, powered by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Here's your host, Michael Severe, on 1620 The Zone.
All right. Gotta buck up, Buttercup. Yep. That's one of my favorite expressions from DB. You gotta buck up here. First and goal at the 4. Snap, toss, sweep left. Here's Kolalafe, left edge. Turns the corner, he's in. Touchdown, Northwestern. Wildcats are on the board in the end zone for the first time here today, and you can hear the boos from the crowd after the replay review that was not overturned on the spot. And instead, a couple plays later, results in a touchdown. It's now 21-12 Nebraska.
That was an incredible deal, but
they made some nice runs. They, bounced off some guys in tackling. We were certainly there. We fit the run way better, but didn't tackle well enough again. So we're still working on that, but we made the crucial stops needed when you need to make them.
What were you told by the officials regarding that abrupt movement call on the defense?
Yeah, I don't know. Nothing. nothing. I was told nothing other than, hey, they thought we moved. I mean, we haven't been called for that in 3 years. We don't coach it. We don't teach it. So our guy just went from a 3 technique to a 1 technique.
Welcome back. Severe reaction here on 1620 The Zone. Noticing in the comments of the YouTube, they're talking about the play, the holding that was called against Northwestern, that second to last drive down the field. And then I think it was an interception after that. It's clearly a hold. It's not a pancake. The reason it's a hold is because 75's right hand is underneath Guthrie's pads. That's why it's a hold. If you look at watch the replay, he's got his right hand under the shoulder pad holding him. As soon as your hand is outside of the body, which the shoulder pad is, and you get your hand underneath there, that's a holding. That's an easy call from any official. It's not a pancake. It's a hold. Matter of fact, you can call it a tackle. Either it's a tackle or it's a hold. Those are your two choices. But watch the replay of it. 75 has got it, and the referee is looking right at it. He's got the great spot of the angle of watching the play. It is, and again, if it was not a hold, I would say it's not a hold. I believe in ask anybody who knows me, I believe in the rules. No matter it's for the team that I'm watching or covering or against the team I'm watching or covering, I don't care. I'm for the rules. And 75 has his right hand underneath the shoulder pad of Guthrie, right? And then turns him with that and then takes him to the ground. That's what you call a tackle. And then when you watch the replay of it from the ground view, you see what the referee saw. The referee is looking right at the play. He can see the right hand underneath the shoulder pad and holding the jersey. So let me explain the holding real quick before we take a break, because we got to get caught up. The main goal of when you make a holding call is restriction and what could happen from there. So are you restricting a wide receiver from being able to catch a ball? Or are you restricting a defender from being able to get to a ball carrier? That's what it is. And this is restriction. It's classic. It's I'm holding you so you can't get away. Now, if he just has his hand inside, he could be grabbing him to the chest plate, but not when he gets outside on the shoulder. That's why it's called a holding. It's a tough call, man. It really is. It sucks because it would allow them to be down inside the 10-yard line. And obviously, it could mean that they go on and win the game. It's a rough call, but I'm sorry. Sometimes when things like that happen, it's a holding. It's called. And referee had the perfect spot of it. Quick break again. We'll come back. We'll look at some of the keys to the game, how Nebraska did with those as well. We come back here on Severe Reaction on 1620 The Zone.
Now, back to Severe Reaction, powered by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Here's your host, Michael Severe, on 1620 The Zone.
Two wide right, two receivers left. Lindenmeyer motions in line right. Single back Johnson. Snap, turn, handoff Johnson over right guard. Powers, fights, blinds, touchdown, Huskers! 2:44 to go. Emmett Johnson will not be denied. 27-21, Nebraska.
Welcome back to a reaction here on 1620 The Zone. I saw some people talking in the chat about Dylan Raiola and his day. Again, 0 of 3 on throws of 20-plus yards. He was actually 1 of 5 on throws of 15 or more yards. So the way they break it down in the stats a lot of times is short, right? Intermediate brings you to 14. And then over 14, that's when you start talking about deeper balls. He was 2 of 2 for 31 yards in between 10 and 19. But again, he only had 1 true completion over 15 yards. It's been a struggle. That's 2 weeks in a row where I believe he's 2 of 11, if I remember correctly, in the Minnesota game, maybe 2 of 12 on throws of over 14 yards. Not great. As usual, good on the short to intermediate, only missed 1 throw. But grade-wise, he got a 44.9 grade from PFF, which is pretty low. Northwestern only blitzed him 7 of the 26 dropbacks. He did get it out quicker based off of the seconds per throw. But in general, he has a fumble on his record, even though it doesn't really matter. And then also the interception, and he got sacked by Prohaska. There's really nothing he could do when Prohaska went down and got that sack. So that's what he looks like in terms of his day. It was not great. One more break, then we'll come back. We'll do the keys and look ahead to USC when we come back here on 1620 The Zone.
Now, back to Severe Reaction, powered by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Here's your host, Michael Severe, on 1620 The Zone.
Clock for the snap. Comes in chest high. 4-man rush. Stone unleashes. Near left side. Overthrows Wilde at the 1. Incomplete. The defense finds a way. They're going to win it.
Yeah, I mean, it means a lot. I'm gonna be real. I didn't even realize we played USC this upcoming week until like yesterday. I've been super intentional about being like just week by week. But yeah, they're coming out here. You know, I'm excited for it. I'm gonna treat them like any other opponent though. And yeah, I'm excited for the game.
Welcome back. So reaction here on 1620 The Zone before we wrap the show up. Just quick USC. Well, keys, first of all, I thought Nebraska needed to come out and punch them early. They did. 9-play, 69-yard drive. 38 of those, Emmett Johnson on the ground. Did what they needed to do. And then, of course, in the fourth quarter, again, being able to put the game away really fit in what I was talking about. Needed to take the ball away. Preston Stone was going to throw an interception or two to you. They take the 2. Also had a chance at a forced fumble, had a chance at a fumble recovery, didn't pick that up, but did a really good job in terms of getting the turnovers. And then I had Barney as my third one. A couple of rushes. The first time he had a rush since the Michigan game, but 3 targets, 3 catches, 3 carries, only a total of 22 yards. So it wasn't obviously a great day, or 21 yards. Wasn't a great day, but still you had Barney out there and producing a little bit. USC, man, best offense Nebraska's going to face. Number 2 in scoring offense in the Big Ten. Number 1 in total offense. Jordan Maeva's averaging 311 yards passing. He's the only quarterback in the Big Ten to average more than 10 yards an attempt. They still won't have Wayman Jordan, their backup running back who got injured. He'll be out for a couple more weeks. But every running back they've played has been pretty good. They're 4th best in rushing offense, over 6 yards a carry. So they faced the best defense they'd faced so far in Northwestern. Now they're going to face the best offense. USC coming off a loss to Notre Dame. They're 5-2. It's a good ball club, though, man. It's going to be a tough matchup, especially crossing routes with some of Nebraska's speed across the middle, especially if you get Watson Trent involved. We're back next Sunday to wrap up that USC game here on Severe Reaction on 1620 Zone.